This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman as we turn to the issue of farmer suicides in India, where 250,000 farmers have committed suicide in the last 16 years. On average, that figure suggests one farmer commits suicide every 30 minutes. Today, the Center for Human Rights and Global Justice at NYU Law School will release a report called Every 30 Minutes, Farmer Suicides, Human Rights, and the Agrarian Crisis in India. The agricultural sector in India has become more vulnerable to global markets as a result of economic liberalization. Reforms in the country have included the removal of agricultural subsidies and the opening of Indian agriculture to the global market. These reforms have led to increased costs while reducing yields and profits for many farmers. As a result, small farmers are often trapped in a cycle of insurmountable debt, leading many to take their lives out of sheer desperation. The rate of suicides highest among cotton farmers. Like other cash crops in India, the cotton industry is increasingly dominated by foreign multinational corporations that tend to promote genetically modified cottonseed and often control the cost, quality, and availability of agricultural inputs. To discuss this issue, we're joined by Smita Narula, faculty director of the Center for Human Rights and Global Justice at NYU. Welcome to Democracy Now! Talk about this report that you are just releasing today.
Our major finding for this report is that all the issues that you just described are major human rights issues, and what we are faced with in India is a human rights crisis of epic proportions. The crisis affects the human rights of Indian farmers and their family members in extremely profound ways. We found that their rights to life, to water, food, an adequate standard of living, and their right to an effective remedy is extremely affected by this crisis. Additionally, the government has hard human rights legal obligations to respond to the crisis, but we found that it has failed, by and large, to take any effective measures to address the suicides that are taking place.
I mean, this number is unbelievable. Every 30 minutes, an Indian farmer commits suicide?
And that's been going on for years and years. And what these intense numbers don't reveal are two things. One is that the numbers themselves are failing to capture the enormity of the problem. In what we call a failure of information on the part of the Indian government, entire categories of farmers are completely left out of the purview of farm suicide statistics because they don't formally own title to land. This includes women farmers, Dalit or so-called lower caste farmers, as well as Adivasi or tribal community farmers. In addition, the government's programs and the relief programs that they've offered fail to capture not only this broad category, but also fail to provide timely debt relief and compensation or address broader structural issues that are leading to these suicides in the country.
Talk about the issue of globalization and how it's affecting these farmers.
So basically, the proximate cause for a number of these suicides is farmer indebtedness. What lies behind that indebtedness is 2 decades of market liberalization in India, which have resulted in 2 simultaneous processes. First, the government has withdrawn significantly from the agricultural sector. It has reduced subsidies. It has decreased access to rural credit. Irrigation is insufficient and doesn't reach most farmers who need it. And at the same time, it has encouraged a switch over to cash crop cultivation, of which cotton is one example. Simultaneously, the market has been opened up to global competitors, which makes Indian farmers extremely vulnerable. And at the same time, foreign multinationals now dominate industries such as the cotton industry, including dominating the key inputs that are needed for cotton. In the case of cotton in particular, the genetically modified BT cottonseed has been promoted so effectively in India that it now dominates the entire sector, and between its cost, quality, and availability has an enormous impact on farmer costs and profits and yields, to the point that it's landing them in enormous debt. And many of them, ironically, are actually consuming the very pesticide that they went into debt to purchase to kill themselves when they can't escape that cycle of debt.
They're consuming the pesticide.
That's correct. And behind each and every one of these numbers, the statistics are appalling as they are. Every 30 minutes, it's hard to get our heads around it. But something else that the report tries to do is to put a human face on these numbers and tragedies. So take 2 stories to put that humanity back into it. They're farmers in Vidarbha, Maharashtra, which is seen as an epicenter of this crisis and an epicenter of cotton production in the country. Farmers now address their suicide notes to the Prime Minister and to the President, hoping that their last words before they kill themselves will reach an audience that's going to take action. Then you have farmers like Nanda Bhandare, who is a widow, and she lost her husband in 2008. As a result, she now she had to pull her 10 and 12-year-old children out of school to work the farm. They own 7 acres of land, and after toiling every day on that land for a year, she likely won't earn more than $250 for the entire year. She may have received compensation from the government, but that's certainly been eaten up by the private money lenders who her husband took out loans from because there's no rural credit in the country. And now she is struggling to afford basic needs for her family.
Talk about genetically modified seeds and U.S. multinational corporations.
So genetically modified seeds, Bt cottonseed is the cottonseed input that dominates the cotton industry now. And what the genetic modification promises to do is to produce a toxin within the seed that kills a very common pest that affects the cotton crop in India. The Bt cottonseed, which has been marketed by Monsanto among other multinationals, requires 2 resources that are already scarce for most Indian smallholder farmers. That's money and water. Bt cottonseeds cost anywhere from 2 times to 10 times as much as regular cottonseed, and they also require a great deal more water in order to yield successful crops. The farmers often go to private money lenders who charge exorbitant interest rates to purchase the seeds on the promises and based on aggressive marketing that they will bring greater financial security. But then because 65% of cotton farms in India are rain-fed and don't have access to irrigation, the crops inevitably fail. And also increasing drought has made that the case for many farmers. So they've gone into insurmountable debt to purchase the inputs. They don't have the yields. They repeat this cycle for a couple of seasons, and by the end of it, they're simply trapped in a cycle that they can't get out of, and they consume the very pesticide that they purchased in order to kill themselves.
Finally, what needs to be done?
There are many things that the government can do and should do. The first is to address the failure of information. The government has failed to adequately capture the scope of the problem, as I described before. There's a failure of intervention. The debt relief program that the government proudly boasts about to human rights committees doesn't reach most farmers, leaves many out of their purview, and provides too little. And there are structural issues. The government needs to put human rights at the center of its agricultural policies, and it needs to regulate multinational corporations, which it's not doing, rather than improving more and more GM crops in the country when so many have already devastated farmers' lives.
Smita Narula, I want to thank you for being with us. We'll link to your study at our website from the Center for Human Rights and Global Justice at NYU Law School. This is Democracy.